with it, how you live it. 10 toes in when we standing.
Saw this on the internet. Dude said he ate in a remodeled Cracker Barrel and he hated it. And I want to join in on the hate. If the Cracker Barrel don't look like the Jim Crow South, I can't eat there. You got to have the racism aesthetic. You got to have the rocking chairs and the hint of segregation in the air. If I don't feel like I'm on the set of Sinners, then how do I know I'm in a Cracker Barrel? This is a gentrified Cracker Barrel. They done took all the character out of it. And I know the edges of the pancake ain't burnt. I got to feel like somebody wants to say, good morning, boy, when I go in, with respect. And no respect at all. I feel like they want me to work there, but they don't want to pay me ever. And I've got to live there. That's Cracker Barrel's thing. If you take that away, what is it? A Denny's, an IHOP, a place I don't want to be at.
I got to ask this question.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. As many of you know, there's been a dust up over the last couple of days with Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel, the iconic Southern comfort food breakfast place. I've been there many times. They have a great breakfast. Haven't really gone there for lunch, but breakfast, absolutely. And so they recently tried to do a rebrand. They pulled a Bud Light. They tried it. They did it. They were going to go woke. They didn't quite go all the way to having a trans person as their spokesperson. However, what they did was they changed the logo and they started to make the stores look like warmed over Denny's. It was absolutely amazing. And the backlash was swift and severe. So we're going to dive into that because they have reverse course, 180 degrees. And it was only a matter of time. It took Bud Light months to do this. To her credit, maybe, or maybe to the board, because I think this probably had to do with some of their investors and their board members. They said, oh, hell no, we're not doing this. But welcome into Courageous Media. Thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate everybody walking up. Political fishermen, you might be right. Cracker Barrel might be too late. But as I said, the backlash was swift and severe as you saw in that video there by some of their customers, as well as some of the memes and videos that were posted online. Check this out. This is hilarious.
Here at Cracker Barrel, we value diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's why we are going one step further to ruin our brand. We are investing millions of dollars into replacing all of brown pegs in the peg game to bright, colorful pegs. Also, we're changing the rules. The white pegs are not allowed to move or jump anymore, leaving the colored pegs to do whatever they want. We call it Down with the Cracker. It's about being fair in an unfair world. Are you down with the cracker?
So the backlash, like I said, was swift. And it wasn't just from TikTokers and memers and people posting videos. Oh, no. The backlash reached where it really counted. And that was right to the actual stock price. Now, check this out. Before I get to the stock price, so let's dive in because even though there was huge backlash on the brand itself, on the rebrand, the CEO of Cracker Barrel didn't seem to get the message. In fact, she thought it was exactly the opposite. It was pretty amazing. Check this out.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and
Now, just so you know, Strahan had asked her, hey, what if the customers don't like it? What do your customers think about this rebrand? I mean, they've been a pretty loyal bunch. And this was her answer.
honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Messino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you again.
Answering those questions for all the Cracker Barrel fans out there. There's a lot of great changes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Robin?
Can I get an...
And Unlike most mainstream ridiculous journalists, quote unquote journalists, he's not a journalist, he's a talking head. There were no follow-up questions. There was no pre-research. Did anybody bother to research what was happening to the brand? Did anybody bother to research the internet and see what do their customers think? What is the online feedback? Because they would have found the memes like I just showed you. They would have found customers walking into rebranded Cracker Barrel saying, "This sucks. I'm out. I can't stand it." Or they might have noticed something even just a little more obvious. And that was, what does the customers and the market think about this whole thing? And here it is right here. So this is Cracker Barrel's stock price. There's the logo change right there. Now, Cracker Barrel was in somewhat of a slow decline, like many older established brands and restaurants and whatnot. Because people have been eating out less and doing a lot of those things. But there's the logo change, and there's the stock price. It absolutely tanks 10% in about 2 days. Actually, more than 10. About like almost 12% in about 2 days. That is just absolutely amazing. That is falling off a cliff in stock market world, especially when you've got huge numbers of shares outstanding. I mean, this is not a penny stock. This is not volatile. So her ridiculous rebrand introduced volatility right into the system. And it did not go well, obviously. It got so bad that she even got President Trump to weigh in. But before we get into that, really appreciate everybody rolling up. Political Fisherman was first one in the tank today. Hey, Chris, thanks so much for joining us from Durban, South Africa. How things going in South Africa? Had a couple of friends go on safari there the last couple of weeks. So they've been enjoying it up in the north side there. Lane Sanger in the house. Alex Garman in the house. Once you go woke, you go broke. That is so true. These barrelheads are crackers. Send her to Uganda. She can be buddies with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. She was warned by investors. Yes, she was. There was a major investor out of, I believe, New Jersey. When I say major investor, I mean, obviously, billionaire, fund manager type, who told her this is obvious folly. Those were his words. He looked at the rebrand and said to the CEO, "This is obvious folly. We are going to alienate our customers." But no, nobody listened. Just like Bud Light, nobody cared. It was more about the diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was about virtue signaling for LGBTQ nonsense, which is what they've done internally. Realize that this rebrand does not change what's been going on internally at Cracker Barrel, which is all sorts of woke nonsense. LGBTQ diversity councils, pushing LGBTQ values, donating to LGBTQ causes, the whole 9 yards. Trans Rights Day, all of the nonsense. So this got so bad that President Trump actually weighed in. And this is funny because obviously he's a McDonald's fan. I'm sure he's eaten a few Cracker Barrels though. But check this out from President Trump. Cracker Barrel should go back to the old logo. Admit a mistake based on customer response, the ultimate poll. Yes, just like your stock price. And manage the company better than ever before. They got $1 billion worth of free publicity if they play their cards right. Very tricky to do, but a great opportunity. Have a major news conference today. Make Cracker Barrel a winner again. Remember, just a short period of time, I made the U.S. the hottest country when a year ago it was dead. So Trump weighs in, and not but a day after. This is absolute great stuff right here. Check this out. Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, we thank our guests for sharing your voices and love for Cracker Barrel. Now, remember, this was the same CEO who said all of the outrage at the rebrand was just a vocal minority. Just a vocal minority, just a bunch of knuckle-dragging, white supremacist losers over there, the small group making a lot of noise. No, it was your entire customer base, honey. We thank our guests for sharing your voices of love for Cracker Barrel. We said we would listen, and we have. Our new logo is going away, and our old timer will remain. At Cracker Barrel, it's always been and always will be about serving delicious food. Now, The other thing that needs to happen, and we need to have an outrage over this, is Cracker Barrel's bowing to the LGBTQ mafia and their agenda internally in their personnel decisions, in their internal corporate policy workings. That's the next step. But at least we have shown that as MAGA, as America First, we are reshaping the culture of America. That's what I love this story. I mean, I think Cracker Barrel is going to be down under it for quite a while. There's going to be a lot of people who never return, even if they redo the logo. There's a lot of people now that have seen the reports of all the LGBTQ nonsense inside the company and will never go back for that reason until the CEO and the marketing people and the HR people are probably gone and fired publicly. But what this shows is that with Donald Trump in the White House and his team, and the fact that MAGA, America First Americans have such a sway that we control the culture now. We are the new quasi-cancel culture. We can influence where companies, where organizations go by our sheer numbers and by our weight and by the fact that we are the key demographic. We're the ones with the money. We're the ones spending. So we can influence. We did it with Bud Light. We did it with Target. Now we've done it again with Cracker Barrel. Do not let that go to waste. We control the culture now. And it's time to stand up, not just for the logo, but to make sure that Cracker Barrel ditches all the LGBTQ nonsense that they have started inside the company. Let me know what you think in the comments. Lynn Sanger, maybe do a market study once, a focus group. I bet you they did. I bet you that's where the investor got this idea of its obvious folly. But they don't want to listen to any of that because they want, they're beholden, they bow, they worship at the LGBTQ altar. The agenda is their religion. That's what these people do. Exactly, Lynn Sanger, that is the last demographic they should be pandering to, 100%, because none of those people really want to go there. And by the fact that we're now finding out that especially the T and Q part of the LGBTQ group, they're looking very, very, very dangerous now. That leads us into our next story. Before we do that, please smash that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe and turn on the notifications to Courageous Media. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Help us break this algorithm. Help us get back on top. Our second story of the day is neither funny nor actually a victory. However, it is, and I told you so. And that's unfortunate. So let's dive right into that. Please, again, smash that like button and subscribe. Here we go.
You can tell a large response right now, and you have a lot of these officers out here, even plainclothes officers. Now, look, there's one with an FBI listed on this officer's tactical gear, plainclothes that then they throw on some of this tactical gear to get out and respond to something like this. So at least the law enforcement presence, the size of the presence here is giving us an idea that whatever is happening is something pretty serious. So this is where our crew is stationed right now at Grand and West Diamond. You can tell a large response right now.
Okay, so what we've got going on, for those of you who don't know, there was a mass shooting event in Minneapolis today at a Catholic school targeting children. The shooter was armed with a rifle and pistols, multiple rounds. They targeted children in the school. There are 2 confirmed fatalities and upwards of 20 injured in this mass shooting. The shooter was the 3rd fatality. They were taken out by law enforcement. And what we have found out is very, very disturbing. Before we get into that, what I want to do is I want to dive in quickly to the response by the Democrat loser mayor of Minneapolis. Now, remember, this is the same gentleman who was all in for the George Floyd situation, all in for the George Floyd riots, all in for lionizing George Floyd. Check this out.
These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
Oh, so don't send them thoughts and prayers, huh? Okay, well, how about if you're all a man of action, how about you turn loose the Minneapolis PD? How about you stop defunding the Minneapolis PD? How about you stop welcoming in terrorist groups into your city, led by people like Omar Fattah and Ilhan Omar? How about that? This is the same Jacob Fry, mayor, who bowed, who wept, who knelt at the coffin of the gold coffin of George Floyd. And these are the words that he has for people. How about, why don't you talk about the shooter? Why don't you condemn the shooter with the same vitriol that you condemned Derek Chauvin? How about you get out there public and condemn the shooter with that same level of anger and rage? Oh, no, no, no. Not going to do that. You know why? Because unfortunately, we found out a little bit more about everything that's going on. Check this out, the report as it was happening from Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
Appeared to be no criminal history. We've heard of this barrage of gunfire that took place, and was it sounds like he was able to get off rifle shots, also from a shotgun and a pistol in the time that this all transpired, and then took several steps back and killed himself in the parking lot. Police did say they were able to get there quickly to start rendering aid, and we know that these children and again 2 adults are being treated at this time as well. We're taken to Children's Hospital in Minneapolis, and also Hennepin County Healthcare, where they have the level 1 trauma center. But they're
And so what we found out is that the shooter, as she said, aptly named he, the shooter is a he, but the shooter is a trans individual. The shooter, now Robin Westman, was previously Robert Westman before trying the transitioning route as an adolescent. And therefore, we know that he has severe mental problems. He's probably on a raft of pharmaceutical drugs and other things, all the trans pharmaceuticals that they put them on, the mind-altering, physically altering, body-altering stuff that they put him on. It's absolutely ridiculous. And he's just now one of almost a dozen trans mass shooters in the last couple of years. And as Eric Doherty said, and I'll end it with this. This I thought was apropos. Senator Jim Banks calls it like it is after oops, let me pull this up. Actually, let me share this with you. I'm flipping through these and not sharing them. So he's become just one of a number of trans shooters, as well as Eric Doherty had a great feed from Senator Jim Banks, calls it like it is after a transgender suspect unleashed gunfire in a Catholic mass. When you affirm mental illness instead of treating it, people get hurt. Exactly. Trans people have a mental delusion that needs to be treated with kindness and love and therapy, but most importantly, truth. Affirming a delusion does not make it true. If you think you're a purple dinosaur and I go along with it, I am not helping you. I am hurting you. I am participating in your downfall. And we have participated in the downfall of these children, and at the same time fed them a steady diet of physical and pharmaceutical interventions that have completely warped their body and their mind. And then they feed them victim mentality nonsense that says they're the oppressed and that they need to rise up. Well, guess what? You've got a lot of boys who want to masquerade as girls who are now rising up in violence, and it needs to stop. And so, unfortunately, that's where we're at with this. But trans shooter in Minneapolis, of course, that's Tampon Tim territory. He'll never do anything about it. He'll never do anything with the root cause. No. He'll blame guns or some other ridiculous nonsense. He'll blame Trump and guns is what they'll do. The Democrats you can read them like a book. But hey, really appreciate everybody rolling up. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Please share Courageous Media. with everybody that you know. Really appreciate you rolling up. Thanks so much. Have a great day.